Hi friends, happy Friday. It's Miss Triwa. So for science today, we're going to finish up like the Earth's surface, and we are just going to do a recap, a review on everything we learned this week because we've learned lots of new and interesting information. So we're going to spend the day reviewing, and then you'll have a wonderful weekend. All right, so let's get started. So the Earth's surface, we are reviewing. So remember, the Earth's surface, that's just what we can see on the Earth, friends. So landforms. A landform is the shape of the land. So remember, we have all different types of landforms, right? Some are just land, some are water, and some have both in them. And remember, they're all different. They look different. They have different shapes. Some have land, some have water. All different landforms. Now, Native Americans used landforms for houses back in the day. They used it for housing, they would use it for water, and they would use it for food. So they would make houses in the cliffs, and then they would use the underneath the cliffs, or like maybe a plain or a valley nearby, and they'd be able to plant their vegetables. And then the rivers or the oceans, whatever the stream they had, they would then use that for drinking water and to bathe, and they would also find food in the water, the fish. So they were using all these different landforms to help them survive back in the day. Now in this picture here, we have a couple of different ones. We have the mountain, and then next below it is the valley. So right there, that is very different. One's very tall, one is not. One is low to the ground. You have the canyon. You have a little hill. Now a hill is much smaller than a mountain, right? We have the coastline. There's the cape over here. The continental shelf, we did not get to that yet, but don't worry, we'll get to that in our next chapter. And then we have an island, which is also a landform. It's some land that is surrounded by water. You actually go to school on an island, Long Island. I live on Long Island. We're a piece of land and we're surrounded by water. So all different landforms. Even in this picture, we have so many. We have a mountain, we have a volcano, which we're going to talk about, and we already have. We have a valley, we have the plain, the canyon, an island, which we just talked about, the river, an ocean, a lake, a hill, a waterfall, which I always find so beautiful, a bay, a plateau, a cave, a peninsula, and a glacier. These are just examples of landforms. We've already talked about them back in the beginning of the school year in social studies. So we are well equipped with our landforms. But just to review on them, remember they're all different. And that's what we see. That's on the Earth's surface. Then to focus more on volcanoes. So what we learned this week is a volcano is a mountain with an opening that rocks, ashes, and lava can come out. There are three different types of volcanoes. There's our active volcano, our violent volcano, and our dormant volcano. So if we look at the picture here, I have our dormant volcano. It's not erupting. It may erupt in the future, but right now there's nothing coming out of it. It's sleeping almost. It's resting. Then we have our active volcano. We could see some stuff coming out, maybe some smoke every once in a while, maybe very, very little lava. But it's not violent. It can be dangerous, but at the moment it's not very dangerous. Then we have our violent volcano. And our violent volcano is very dangerous. It's lots of lava coming out, lots of smoke, ashes, rocks are flying everywhere. Violent is dangerous, friends. It's aggressive. That's what it means. So it can be very dangerous. We have over here an example of our violent volcano. You can see it's very dangerous and you would not want to be anywhere near this when this is happening. Our active volcano, it can erupt and become violent, but for the most part, it's just got some smoke that comes out every once in a while and it's not too dangerous. And then our dormant volcano, you can see there's really nothing coming out of it. It's sleeping, it's resting. Again, it still can start to erupt and eventually become violent, but at the moment, our dormant volcano is sleeping. This, friends, is just a picture of lava that has come into the streets. Okay, this picture is actually taken in Hawaii, which is, again, another state in our country, just like New York. It has a bunch of volcanoes there, and one erupted, and this is all the lava in the streets. And you can see how dangerous that can be. It's going to burn down trees. You could see it on the wires. If there's any houses or cars that it goes over, those are going to be ruined. And you don't want to be in there because it's extremely hot and you will burn. All right, so next we have earthquakes. An earthquake, friend, just remember, that's when the ground shakes. The top layer of the earth is made up of big rocks called plates. Remember, we have those giant rocks and they're plates, right? And they sit like a jigsaw puzzle. They fit somehow, right? These rocks are always moving and sometimes get stuck and cause a crack or a fault. So remember, we learned the word fault, and the word fault is just a crack in the earth's crust, the top layer of the earth. And those cracks then, when they get stuck, and they keep trying to move in the fault, then they cause the ground to shake. Because remember, think about it, when something is stuck, we keep going, eventually it's going to move, but it's shaking a little. You could see, I don't know if you could see, my hand is shaking a little as I move it. So that's what causes the ground to shake. Sometimes we don't feel them, but sometimes they can be very dangerous and they can cause a lot of damage or change how we see the earth. So you can see in this one, these buildings are falling over. They are destroyed. And this was actually taken from Italy, friends, another country. You can see the road here before the earthquake, and this is one after an earthquake. All the buildings fell because the shaking was so intense. Again, friends, we don't really get earthquakes here. And if we do, they're very, very little, to the point that we don't even feel them. Thankfully, we don't get really bad ones like this. Okay, so just to kind of recap for our week, the earth is always changing. You know, we have our landforms and they change sometimes. We're going to continue next week learning about other ways the earth is changing. This week was more of just a preview and some examples of ways that the earth can change very fast. You know, volcanoes, if they erupt very fast, you can't really control it. If an earthquake happens, it's very fast and sometimes very hard to control, and it just happens. Next week, we're going to focus on slower ways that the earth is changing over time. All right, friends? So great job. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye.